I was just saying, once you hear from the producer what something's like, you sort of want to see it immediately.
Yeah. I mean, Ali's idea will probably be completely different to mine about what it's actually about now. He's really good. I've enjoyed working with them so far.
Yeah.
Definitely, Cowboy, Ali and Charles, Yvonne as well. They've been really good. So it's been a good project so far. It's been quite long.
Has it? How long has she been on for now?
How long? We had like a 4-week hiatus. So when young Malcolm broke his arm, so his wrist. So that kind of, you still kind of feel like you're working within that as well, because we've been doing a lot of workshops with Yan. Obviously, because we've got a lot of new actors in the project, a lot of musicians as well, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you feel about doing that and working with? Well, basically.
Well, to be fair, there's two sides to that for me, because I did music and kind of had an acting career before that no one really knew about, but did music, kind of became a name and went back into acting. So I've always had a lot of people saying that about me, that I'm a musician turned actor. So I can't really shun anyone that kind of, do you know what I mean, wants to become an actor and wants to get into it. But also as well, you are a bit weary that, whether they can act or not. Let's be blunt, like, are they going to be able to pull it off? And I mean, especially with Top Boy, it's a very kind of, it's a world that we all know, I suppose, but it's quite a complicated and a complex script, and especially, I mean, the character Kano's playing Sully. He's a very deep character, and he's the completely opposite to how Kano is in real life as well. So he's taken on a lot. So
he's really having to act then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He's been pulling it out of the bag all the time. I think everyone is really happy and pleased with what he's been coming up with so far. So it's been fun. We're just having loads of fun. But it does feel like we've been here for like a year or something so far. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got 5 weeks left. So it's going really well, and it's lovely working with Yan. He's refreshing. He's just I don't know, spontaneous, I suppose, which I love.
Is there a little bit of improvisation going on as well here? I
think there's a bit more than a little bit. Yeah, it's quite a bit. I mean, I think maybe more with me and Kano's stuff. We kind of got a good relationship off screen, and we're trying to bring a lot of that into onto the camera. So we've been improvising a lot. I mean, we shot a scene the other day where we basically I drove from Edmonton all the way to Shoreditch, our base in Shoreditch, and they put a camera in the car. Tat was in the back with us, and we just in character just improv all the way home, basically. And it was funny.
So how long did that take? About 4 hours?
No, it was it could have. It usually does. It was about an hour's drive, hour and a bit.
And so what was the point of the scene? What was happening?
Basically, I mean, Yan said that he's briefed to us before we got in. Me and Kano even had a conversation about it, because we was like, we haven't got a clue what we're going to be doing here, but he was just like, basically, he could use this anywhere. Really? Do you know what I mean? Throughout the 4 episodes, because we drive to a lot of places. There's a lot of journeys and where we're having conversations in the car. So I suppose he plans to chop it up and use it where he pleases. But it's just about, I mean, getting that kind of natural relationship that you get between two guys, I suppose. The job that they're doing, that Sully and Deshane are doing, is such an intense, well, you can't call it a job, but what they're doing is it's quite intense. You have a lot of responsibility, I suppose, and you spend a lot of time worrying about who to look out for, who's going to hurt you, who's a friend, who's not. But I mean, people automatically assume, I suppose, looking at that lifestyle, that's how every hour of their life is. But no, these people, they have fun, they joke, they go drinking, they club, they have sex, they do normal things that normal people do as well.
So is the idea to sort of turn around the sort of cliches that I suppose a lot of people have of this sort of area and these sort of worlds?
I wouldn't say so, to be fair. I mean, I wouldn't say that this was one of those pieces that is trying to be to bash home the message of, don't pick up guns and don't deal drugs. I think it's more, this is a blatant, I suppose, expose of what is actually happening on our streets today, and how young some of the kids that are involved in it are, you know, and it's quite shocking when you see it. I've spent.
Do you think people will find it shocking watching
I think so. I think people are going to be shocked. I think.
Is that good? Do you think that's?
I think it could go either way, you know, for a lot of people. To be fair, if I'm going to be honest, you know, I think there's going to be a lot.
I mean, you wouldn't be shocked watching it.
I wouldn't be shocked at all. You know, I've got an 11-year-old son, Xavier, who's in this as well. He's playing Michael.
Really?
He's part of our gang. Yeah, and he's 11, and I mean,
is this his first?
Well, he's been in acting school and been doing bits and bobs here and there, but this is his first proper TV series. He's an amazing actor, but just, I mean, we did a scene where he was in basically a crack house with us where we're making drugs and stuff like that. And I was just watching him thinking, I don't know if I could let my son be in this scene or whatever, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's actually happening. My son's been lucky enough not to be exposed to any of that, but there's a lot of kids that around our area that are doing things like that on a daily basis, and I think it's important for everyone to understand kind of how bad it really is. And sometimes that doesn't mean by putting a program on or a TV show on that is always going to have a brilliant message at the end.
No.
But it's going to have a real message and kind of hit home to a lot of people that, you know, if you want to choose this lifestyle, this is what comes with it. So it will deter a lot of people, you know, as much as people may say it's glamorizing it as well.
And how did you talk to him about the scene? You know, because he's 11, obviously. You got cracked in. Was he aware of this sort of world?
I wouldn't say he's been. I speak to his mum a lot, and I've been kind of in a way mentoring him as well in that sense. And he comes from a really good home. He hasn't really been exposed to that sort of stuff, but through being on the streets, through having friends that know about it and whatever, and what the things they talk about, he's pretty clued up about how life is, you know, how the reality of life is. Yeah, he will be, in his first year of secondary school. So
because I've got an 11-year-old and he just seems to have entered a completely different world.
It's the same with my son. It's like they change overnight.
And you know, we talk about like vocabulary. I mean, he's coming home with stuff that, you know, I find amazing. You know.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's, you know, once they step into secondary school, you're surrounded by kids of like who are much older than you. You know, kids are just about to go into college and university and stuff like that. So, the possibilities are endless. You just have to be. I've just made sure that in my son's lives, especially, I'm the main role model. That they don't see the guy on the end of the block with a Mercedes or a Beamer as the guy they should look up to. I'm going to make sure I can buy that BMW. Yeah. And you know what I mean?
But how does one overcome that? Because of course looking at that seems an easy route to getting that Beamer at the end of the road.
Definitely, you know, it's quick money, it's easy money. I think you overcome it by you know, I don't think anyone that is actually in that position or doing that sort of thing really wants to be there. You know, I know a lot of people that are on the streets that are dealing drugs and stuff that look at me every day and say, oh, we're so proud of you, I'd love to be doing what you're doing and whatever, and maybe just haven't had the opportunities but believe in themselves that they could be an actor or the next Kano or whatever. But they didn't persist, I suppose, as much as I did. Or maybe they weren't as determined and was knocked back a lot and gave up at some point, you know. Loads of different reasons. I suppose most of it is about kind of the opportunities that are put in front of you.
Well, Ali was talking about career choices, which is an interesting way of putting it, isn't it? You know, but I suppose in the end,
to a lot of people,
there aren't the career choices, are there?
It is. You know, if you see every day, what you see is your friend, your uncle, maybe your older brother, or whatever, dealing drugs, making money from it, surviving from it, buying food, paying the electric bill, the gas bill, whatever. It's only right that you're gonna think, well, that's going to be your first thing to think about doing when you get to a certain age, you know, and it's going to be, you have to have outside influences that are going to change. I was lucky enough to have an excellent mum. My mum's always worked in education, basically. She's HR for Croydon Council at the moment, but she used to do it freelance, and she just always battered home You know, education, books. So I would go to school, pretend I was a bad boy and have fun with the other kids and whatever. But when I went home, I wasn't allowed to talk on the phone. I wasn't allowed out after 6:30. I had to make sure my homework was done and the house was clean before I did anything that I wanted to do. And I respected my mum that much. I made sure I did it.
Well, that's the sort of strictness that a lot of families,
I lack in maybe
middle-class
these days.
families even wouldn't tolerate.
Yeah.
Was that the key then? The fact that she kept.
I suppose so, but also as well, she always she said from when I was born she wanted me to be an author. She wanted me to write books, and she put my name for that reason. So she's always made me read, and I've always had a great imagination, I suppose. So whatever I've seen hasn't been everything to me in a certain way. She always struggled to. She took me on holiday once a year, wherever it was, Spain, wherever. So I experienced different cultures and whatever. I find today there's some people my age, nearly 30 years old, that haven't been on a plane before. And that's fascinating to me. I'm like, wow, really? But then you would understand why, you know, that council estate can become everything to someone, and like outside of it, it's just like it's something else, somewhere else that you really can't get to, you know, and it becomes like that. I suppose a lot of people become trapped in the mind.
Gosh, fascinating. So, I mean, what do you want an audience to come away from this thinking? What?
Exactly what I just said before. You know, I think this is a lot of people's reality. I think we should, more than anything, rather than go away and think, wow, that was like really powerful, but maybe a bit too much or whatever. Maybe think about how we can help to change this and make it better, you know, because it's not, no one's glamorizing anything. We're just basically showing what happens really on a day-to-day basis in these sort of places. And it is happening. It's not us trying to be, you know, everyone should be scared and put fear in people. It's just about like, this is some people's lifestyle every day, and it's not fair, you know. People should have other opportunities, you know, and should be doing other things.
And does it help? Because of course it's been popular for politicians to talk about broken areas of Britain, you know, broken Britain. Does that help? Does that stigmatise these areas? Does it make it even more difficult for these people to find a way ahead?
I suppose so, in a way. I mean, I think it's more about, like I've been saying, basic opportunities and showing people what they are entitled to and what they can achieve. And if you talk to a lot of the kids, which I do, they actually don't believe they can be anything else. And I think that's a mental thing more than anything. That starts in nursery, in schools and stuff like that, you know. And this is not just black kids or whatever, it's white kids, there's all different sorts of kids that grow up in this area that are really, I mean, at the moment, to be fair, completely unified. And there's not a difference between anyone. No one sees colour anymore. There's as much white kids involved with the crime I see as black kids and Asian kids as well. So, you know, from that we can tell that it is just about, it's about a way of thinking. It's about a mentality. And there's loads of good things going on, the Damilola Taylor Trust, small projects and whatever, but it takes...
Is it money? Is it a money thing?
It's going to take loads of money, definitely, but not just to be splashed out on, you know, iPads and Kindles and stuff like that, but to be put in the right places to make things happen. There's a lot of ex-convicts, ex-drug dealers, ex-gangbangers that are youth workers now that are willing to, you know, I've got a lot of respect from the kids and are willing to go out into communities and talk and do a lot of things that changes lives around here. That are never funded, that are doing it off their own back. And
really,
you know, if we made that something that, you know, you could make a decent wage from, I'm sure there'd be a lot of other people with the same story that would want to step up and you know, I think there is here in dribs and drabs, but there's nothing set in stone. I don't think I think that would be useful, definitely.
Yeah, and what I mean, there's always the sort of chestnut about, you know, portrayal of black people on television, particularly in drama. I mean, do you think that situation is improving, or, you know, are we getting the sort of role models on TV that,
you know,
help that?
I have problems with this whole issue, because there's a thin line between, there is definitely a thin line between showing what is happening and being stereotypical, I suppose, which is why I would never have got involved with Top Boys if that's what Jan planned to do with it. But I understood his vision. But you know, like the other day, there was an uproar about Danger Mouse. I mean, Rasta Mouse.
Yeah, Rasta Mouse. I know that.
And I loved that show. But it was black people that were complaining more about it than anyone else. And I was thinking, well, what's so wrong with that? It's a mouse that is trying to save the world or solve crime, is against crime and anything else. And people were still, the accent's not authentic and it's not this. Well, I said, well, it's Reggie Yates, for God's sake. Like, he's black. Like, but so there's, do you know what I mean? I think it's got that bad that people are like, you know, anytime there's a black person on TV these days, someone's got something to say, and I think it's.
But is it? What I think is interesting. Aren't there enough black actors, trained black actors now, to go into a role that, you know, a white man would otherwise do? And it's a horrible way of putting it, but it does.
It's happening.
And do casting directors cast them just in ordinary roles, as it were? I mean, this.
I think it's happening. I've been up for plenty. I may not have got them, but they call me in. Do you know what I mean?
You're a lead actor, aren't you? I'm talking about, you know, because there was a whole fuss about Midsummer Murders, which I thought was interesting. About
what was that?
About, you know, Brian True May talking about, you know, in an English village I can't cast, you know, an ethnic person because they don't exist there, but of course they do.
Yeah.
But it brought up this whole argument as to whether black and ethnic people are cast in what are essentially ordinary roles, you know, rather than what. A shopkeeper or... Yeah,
I mean, you know, I think there could be, you're right, there definitely could be more work for black actors, I think, and in parts that are normal, do you know what I mean? But are there a lot of, I mean, my actors kind of fraternity or the community that I know amongst the black actors, very few and far between, and a lot of them are in the States. Doing well, where it's much easier, I suppose, to get roles out there than it is here. But for me, I mean, there's obviously a lot of people like me as well that wouldn't complain. I just did Outcasts and played Jack, and that was originally written for a white man, a 35-year-old white man, is what the script said originally.
That's what the script said. But see, that's got to be wrong, hasn't it?
They decided. What do you mean?
Well, to say it's a white man, I mean, in the script.
Say it, definitely. I mean, definitely. I mean, but I'm saying that it's possible to turn things on the head, and even when people have the idea of what the part's going to look like.
Do we need a whole change of thinking about that?
I think, I think we do, but I think that's going to take as well. You know, people like me getting off my arse and kind of writing scripts.
Really?
You know, and trying to produce my own projects and do stuff like that as well. I'm very lazy in that sense. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and you've got people like Adam Deacon that are just coming through, and Noel Clark or whatever that are, you know, fully in control of their own stuff and whatever. But, you know, so I think we all need to take a responsibility for it as well. You know, the TV channels, production companies, but us as black actors as well.
Yeah, you must have been disappointed about Outcasts. It got a rough old treat.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, it did. But
How do you
you
feel
know,
about it now?
I enjoyed it. I'd go back, like, after this, obviously, if they called me, like, straight away, you know, because I loved it. I believed it was something good. I know thousands of people that loved it, and so, I mean, it was worth being there. I think it's one of those things. Sometimes, you know, if you don't put a show on at the right time, on the right day, you might not get the audience you require for it, and it's touch and go.
We're not very good at sci-fi, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's hardly you other than Doctor Who, you're not going to see a sci-fi show on primetime TV like 9 o'clock on BBC. So that was a risk they took, and they always knew they were taking from before. So
yeah. So what's up for you next? I mean, once you're done here, plans?
I haven't got a clue. I've been talking to a good friend, Nick, at Revolver. He's one of the guys at Revolver, and we've been talking about how we can collaborate on something. So we might produce something together at the end of this year, which will be good.
Film or TV?
Film feature, yeah. We want to try, I mean, they're trying to put something together that is international, but with a fully English cast, for the UK cast. And so yeah, I won't let the cat out of the bag on what the sort of story they're looking at. But
And what about sort of America and Temptations?
I'd love to be over there, to be fair. But I've always had this big thing about establishing myself firmly in the UK first. So I go overseas with the support of everyone. I'm like that. And I think I've been doing a lot.
You're
you
getting
know,
close though.
yeah, I know, but I still feel like I'm not where I want to be here yet. I don't know what it is, and maybe I've got as far as I can go here, you know. And I might have to.
Would you like to do a sort of a lead in a sort of long-running series here? Is that the sort of thing you mean?
I haven't really got a clue about what the actual job would be. I just know. I mean, if I'm honest, I know that I've done a lot of TV work and whatever, but I've never really capitalised on anything else that comes with it, you know. And I've never pushed for endorsements. I've never made myself available for advertising or doing any of the other stuff.
Why is that?
I film a lot, and I suppose if I did that as well, I would never see my kids or have time for my family. And it's important for me to be a dad as well. And I do music as well, so that takes up a lot of my time also.
Actually, can you tell David a bit about the music element of Top Boy? Because it's going to have, I mean, music's going to be a massive sort of theme within the genre. Yeah. Are you going to get involved with that a bit in terms of...
We are. I think Jan's trying to get us to be involved like every day. He's always like, well, bring me a playlist of stuff and send me this and that. So I think between me, Kano and Scorcher, we've been kind of coming up with tracks that we think will go well with what we're doing. And we plan to go...
Tracks that already exist?
Tracks that already exist from other artists that we know, and UK artists and international artists as well. But also kind of thinking about going into studio and doing some original material for Top Boy. But obviously Kano will be charging $250,000 per track. So it's just whether
top of it, mate.
Yeah. You know. So I don't know whether the CD will actually come out, but it might get recorded.
Is that what you like? Would you like there to be some sort of original stuff that was recorded but then was released separately?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty good. I think we're missing a trick if we don't, you know, bring Kano and Scorcher and even myself into the fold when we're handling the music. Not only that we do music ourselves, but we've got really good relationships with a lot of other artists, i.e. Tiny Tempers and Jason Status and whoever are out at the moment. So it'd be really good to bring everyone in, collaborate sort of thing. So it'd be cool.
Great.
Did you and Kano know each other as friends before, or kind of know each other?
Really, it's a weird story. I mean, my manager is my stepdad as well, Richard Parks. Right. Is good friends with Kano's manager, Richard Thomas. Two Richards. So they've known each other for a while, and when my stepdad started managing me, he kind of put us in touch. And we were both sponsored by Adidas. Right. And we did an event with David Beckham, where it was me, Kano, David Beckham, and Lady Sovereign, a few other people. And that was the first time we met, and kind of we've seen each other every now and again since, but we've had like a 2-month rehearsal period for this before we started shooting. And we just got on like a house on fire, man. He's so cool. I didn't expect him to be like that at all. Any other time I've met him, I thought he's a bit quiet and a bit like stuck up. I thought in the beginning, but yeah, just talking to him and everything, we just had a laugh the whole time. So it's been really good.
And can you also, the other thing I was going to say is quite interesting to talk about a bit, is what it's been like working with so many young people who've had no acting experience, because that's quite a challenge when you're on set with a lot of...
We were expecting it to be majorly difficult, but it's been...
Because you've been actor/youth worker in this role, haven't you?
It's been one of those.
I can imagine they've got you in there. Haven't they? Must be just looking at you. I mean, that must be, how does...
I mean, you'd be amazed though. You'd be surprised. Most of them, it's just like water off a duck's back. Do you know what I mean?
Expecting a few more fans.
Yeah, it's been a bit scarce, to be fair.
Give me a reaction.
Maybe like 2 pictures a day on set. It's not my usual, but no, yeah, they're just really good. And what Jan's managed to do, Jan and Des, is pick people that are near enough the characters, you know what I mean, that they're trying to play. So it's just about capturing them at the right moment when they're in the right frame of mind, really. And I'd say like Sean, he's playing Driss, amazing. Xavier, and I said already, and Malcolm is just like explosive. He doesn't even have to speak on camera. You know, you watch the playback and it's just like, wow, we found something here. Like, this guy's gonna be huge. Like, you know, so it makes my hair stand up, because I think maybe this is what people thought about me when I did Bullet Boy, or do you know what I mean, Storm Damage or whatever, and you just think we're discovering new talent. I think it's something we should do for in more projects, you know, rather than going for the same old guys. But always call me though. Write that down. I need to work.
Is it funny though, working with actors who are a sort of, because you know people like Malcolm are playing kind of characters in their early teens, so they're kind of a generation younger than you. Do you look at that sort of generation young to you and feel like you're in a very different place to them? And do you think the things that they're experiencing now are quite different to the kinds of things you experienced when you were their age?
Yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head. Everything you said, it's completely different, I think, for them
Really?
It was for me. And there's a bit of a gap. There is. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm nearly 30 soon. I'm 29 this year, but I've got another year and before it's all over.
Before you're really over.
Yeah. Then I'm really like, I'm not allowed in the school playground and everything. So, but I mean, with Malcolm, you see, you know, the stuff they're going through is just like what we were going through at that age, but times 10.
In what respect?
I mean, I suppose the access that the kids of their age have to firearms, to knives, to drugs, to other things, is just amazing. We really didn't know that much about what was going on back then. You know, we knew there was this thing called crack, but we'd never seen it really, or do you know what I mean, or had people around us like dealing it in our faces. And I think for the guys today, I mean, it is quite crazy out there.
And I've been keen to tell you about their experience and
Yeah,
and how it is for them. I mean,
I think that's what we spent most of the rehearsal period
really
doing, that, you know, sitting in a circle and
wow.
Bringing our own stories to the table that were similar to the ones we were dealing with in the scripts. And it's amazing the amount of things that these kids have gone through already, which is why they're so strong and why they're so, you know, sometimes you feel like you're speaking to like a 30-year-old when you talk to Malcolm or to the other guys, because they're so experienced.
It's a paradox, isn't it? That they're matured by the process, isn't it? That's
Definitely. They feel they have to grow up quick, you know, and they have to be a man ASAP.
There's a great line, David, in the script where one of the characters who's like 12 says something like, all them wasted years, because they feel like they've got into the game really late, because they're sort of 12 and they've kind of, they're only just cottoning onto things.
And that's really,
gosh, that's revealing, isn't it?
you know, and that's how, it's really genuinely how a lot of kids feel, you know, that they, you know, they'd be love to be doing something else or whatever, but it's, I don't know, they just sound like they're wise.
Do you think that's the major difference between, you know, when you were 11 to where they are now? This pressure to grow up.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'd say, I mean, my lifestyle, I was a bit more protected, I suppose, in certain ways. Being at Sylvia Young on a Saturday and doing ballet and tap, and then back
High
to
Street,
Peckham.
not quite.
Yeah,
Peckham,
it's
is it?
not really that gangster, to be fair. But so. But for me, I mean, there were a lot of dangers, you know. I had problems as well growing up. When I was 15, 16 sort of. And, for them now, I fear it. I've got my own, as I said, I've got an 11-year-old son. He's just about to go secondary school in September. He's got his own BlackBerry. He's getting on the bus by himself. And I find myself just standing at the window, waiting for this boy to come back. And when I'm on set and I know he's out, and you know, I get really anxious about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you hear about it all the time, you know, and it's happening. You see it. So.
But as you know, I was listening to something about, you know, 2-year-olds going into Bolton sort of A&E this morning that had drink, you know, that had alcoholic poison. Then I thought, well, there's nothing you can do though, is there? Is there? You know, as a father, you can educate there.
I suppose we can educate. There are a lot of young parents I was a young parent.
Yes,
I had
you're a
my
young
first
parent,
at
yeah.
17.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of things that I look back on now and think, bloody hell, did I really do that around my son when he was like 6 months old or whatever? Because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a kid myself. And I did need someone to educate me, like, to help me do this. Not, I shouldn't have had a kid at that age anyway. We all know that, but it happened. And I needed someone at the time to come in and go, you know what? You're not really being a dad right now. You should be being a bit more responsible and this and that or whatever. And a lot of these kids don't have that. You know, they're put in a flat somewhere in a council estate with a lot of other girls in the same position as them. And it just becomes a way of life. It just becomes normal. Not that they're trying to damage their children, but how do you cope? So...
Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm going to wrap this up because if it's okay, Ashley, could Ben come and talk to you now?
Yeah, no problem.
And David,
No problem.
because
I can talk
Kirsten's
for
here,
him.
so-
You're a great talker, fantastic.